This is Mark and Charity's Coffee Podcast.
Mark and Charity Coffee Podcast, kicking off the Victoria Day long weekend here in Canada. Friday, May 20th. If you're listening from outside this fine country of ours, Queen Victoria was the reigning monarch for almost 64 years. In 1867, when we became a country, she signed it off and said, good on ya, off you go. Sort of hang around the Commonwealth, but get over there, do it on your own. So we marked that occasion and her reign by putting a drinking weekend we call the May 2-4 into May.
It is a weekend to celebrate not only Queen Victoria, but also, I think, the arrival of spring.
Yeah, and summer. We kind of kick it off.
The arrival of summer. Spring's already here. But this, for a lot of people, this is the weekend they head to the cottage and get it open. Kick off camping.
Get the bikes out if you haven't done it already.
Exactly. Boating. We mentioned the Trent-Severn Waterway.
Now opened at 9 o'clock this morning and will continue to remain open till Labor Day. Splash pads here in the area open up because it's going to be hot and it's going to be beautiful. It's really a celebration on so many fronts. You know, because I've been doing mornings now for 35 years, January and February is the worst time for me because it's dark all day. Well, it's dark when you come to work and it's still night. Yeah, it's kind of depressing. And it's like dark till like almost 8 o'clock in the morning. So it's been, I get up at 4, so it's dark for 4 hours. And if I go home and nap, it's dark again when I get up. So that's that 2 months, January, February. From Victoria Day to when I take my vacation at the end of July is the flip side 2 months. It's the best 2 months. Starts now for me. So here comes the best 2. So you think I'd be happy? Probably not. But anyway, this is the best. This is the glass half full. This is when the glass is half full? Yes.
Okay, let me mark that down.
Write that
and
down.
Put that in the calendar. So the alarm will go off after your holidays to let me know.
Okay, that's over now.
That's about the time of the Civic Long Weekend too, which I said is kind of like a weekend anyway. It's a great weekend because it's a long weekend. I don't want to take anything away from it.
No, true. Yep.
But I was thinking more about it yesterday after our conversation, and there's really no celebration around it.
You get the day.
I do. Like, we have Family Day in the winter, which is a celebration of family. It's an opportunity to be home. Then we have this weekend, celebration Victoria, Queen Victoria. Then we have Canada Day, of course, our nation's birthday. We celebrate that. Labor Day, a celebration of the end of summer, beginning of school.
And the work that it took to build this country, yes.
Exactly. And then Thanksgiving, where we're celebrating the harvest and, again, family and being together. But the Civic Long Weekend in August for me is just kind of, it's just there. Yeah,
and I had Labor Day as number 6, but maybe I'll have to bump it and make the August one. I'm just trying to think of
what we can celebrate that weekend.
Well, as I said, that long weekend is kind of like the midnight buffet at the wedding reception. you look forward to it, but you don't know what is there because you don't really want a sandwich. Like, it's good. People ask about it.
Exactly. You don't know you're hungry, and then all of a sudden you see the food. It's like, oh, yeah.
And you pretend
now I want to eat.
You pretend you're excited about it, and then it shows up, and you don't get anything. You don't.
It's great. It's there.
They go to all that trouble, but nobody goes because of the midnight buffet. So isn't that interesting? Especially since there's the constant yearly annual discussion as to why Remembrance Day is not celebrated as a stat.
As a long weekend or a stat?
Just a stat.
Yeah.
So why is there a stat civically in August? Because we love it. And we want a long weekend in the summer.
Exactly. We want that long weekend.
But.
Yeah, but.
So you think
there's
about
the
it.
But.
Yeah.
It was an interesting conversation I had with myself anyway in my head. It's like, you know what? What are we celebrating? Other than the fact that it's August, it's beautiful, and we just want a long weekend.
A long weekend to say, hey, everybody, it's August for sure.
Not going to sneeze at it. Not going to say take it away by any means.
So enjoy it. There was a website we talked about this morning called To Do Canada. Let me get that up here. www.todocanada.ca/Victoria Day weekend in Ontario. Because what I wanted to see is if you were living in Toronto, Ottawa, up around, the Guelph area or up around Georgian Bay, and you said, hey, let's go into the Quinte region of Belleville, Prince Edward County, Quinte West. Let's see what they have going on. I love to see what outsiders think our area is like.
A different perspective. Yeah.
Because if you say Muskoka, to me, I think Huntsville.
then we had Derek Edwards, a comedian, on who said when he goes to play Huntsville, his favorite way to get the audience going is to remind them how much they hate tourists. And now, as a tourist who loves going to Huntsville, I'm like, now
how do I blend it?
Yeah, how do I not act like it? But they need us.
Yes.
Just like we need tourism here.
And
but
especially after the pandemic, we want people to come and visit us.
We don't like all the traffic in Prince Edward County. We don't like people parking on lawns. Maybe we won't say that to their face, but we fight about it during city council meetings when they're not around.
Certainly.
We here who live here know that. We don't promote it. So what do they promote on there? So I went and looked. The fireworks in Frankfurt on Saturday night are promoted
Which I was surprised about because, again, we know about it. Riverfest weekend in Frankfurt, always a big weekend for this area. And not to knock Frankfurt, but it's a smaller community. It's a small little town outside of Trenton, I would say.
Like we take it for granted. What I got of this is these are the things that we were
just accustomed to, and we know what's going to happen. So it's like, okay, maybe we'll go over, maybe we won't.
Tyne Caves.
That's on my list this summer.
It's being promoted. Our backyard, I don't think anybody would drive here for it, but it's like, why? Well, of course they would. Why wouldn't they? You just said you would go to Huntsville for ice cream. Why don't you think people would go to Tyne for the caves?
Exactly.
Prince Edward County bird festivals. Take a drive on Highway 7. It's funny, right? You think
Well, what was my reaction when you said that? Take a drive on Highway 7. Why? Well, I live closer to Highway 7 than here in the Quinte area. So I've been to Havelock several times. And Norwood's right there. And so's Madoc and Marmor. But if you do it for a day, sure, there's lots of things you can stop and do.
Gorgeous.
Right up Highway 7. And it's a beautiful drive.
If you love road trips, but you live in Toronto, and we can drop you off at the 115-7 split in Peterborough and tell you to drive to Caladar. That's going to be probably the most enjoyable 2.5 hours of the weekend for you.
It's certainly more relaxing than driving on the 401 or a major
rolling
highway.
Farm hills, small towns you can stop.
And that's just it. There's places to stop, places you can pull off and see and enjoy, and restaurants. There are quite a few places to eat as well along Highway 7.
Yeah. So check that out. Anyway, it's interesting to see. It's just interesting to see how they view us in our area, because we put together so many festivals. In the cheap seats this morning, Bill Glisky was talking about the Jazz Festival coming up around the Labor Day weekend and how important that is. Of course, we have Empire Rock Fest. Like, we know what we think is important. I always call it the empty box syndrome, which is you buy a toy for your child because they think they'll love it, and all they want's the empty box. We assume everybody's coming here for what we give them.
For one thing,
but what they really want is they just want to sit at Wessex Park and look at the water.
Yeah.
And we take that for granted. Like, we could do that every day.
Well, Campbellford made the list as well.
Yeah.
And I know that there's good cheese and chocolate and beer. I know that. But there's also the giant toonie.
Yep.
And the suspension bridge and lots of little things. And like here in Belleville and Quinte West, little places to just pop by and just drink in and enjoy.
So that's stuff to do in Victoria Day weekend, they said, but all summer long.
All summer.
We hope that you will come on by the Quinte region, no matter where you are, spend some time.
I did see gas prices were lower this morning.
Oh my gosh, because I was so sure it'd be $11 a liter. Like,
I know.
It just loses its mind.
I was worried about that too when we were talking about it earlier this week. Now it's still right around the 205 mark in Belleville, but coming in Sterling, it was under 2.
Yeah.
At 4:30 this morning. I'm hoping it's still like that on my way home because I will stop.
As you pointed out earlier the week on the air and in the podcast, we refuse to celebrate that as if somehow, good for you. Thanks for dropping it under $2.
Because it should be way less than that.
It shouldn't even be $1.09. It should still be $79.9
exactly
a liter. So I don't know what we can do about that.
And you know what? If someone would lower it, our tourism industry would skyrocket. People would be more apt to visit these other communities. And not that we don't have wonderful things in our own backyard, as we just said. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Get out and enjoy it. But it would certainly help bringing people in too.
And if you want to get out, then it's time to really seriously explore your own backyard. Do it. Do it. And there's all kinds of, and inquinte.ca, the local website for news and happenings, is always great. It's updated daily and weekly into things to do on that weekend, because there's always lots of stuff in the great communities across Eastern Ontario and the Quinte region. Inquinte.ca will highlight it all summer long. So we talked about that this morning. Talked about how great technology is with that woman down in Texas.
The Texas story?
So she was letting her 2-year-old play with her phone, because you do that. That's the new babysitter.
Quite often parents.
They're good at it.
I don't like saying it's a babysitter.
But
Okay, what did I do? Yeah, what do I say?
But
Right.
it is nice to have the capability to throw on a show
Yeah.
or a game that your child can occupy themselves with for a moment while you finish something.
Yeah, and that's all she was doing.
And that's
She
what he was
working
doing.
on the laptop,
Yep.
looked over, was on the phone, said, give me that.
Okay, that's enough. Mommy needs it.
Mommy needs it, and put it down over there so we play for it. And then, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes, a half an hour later, doorbell rings. It's like doorbell rings. Nobody ever shows up, goes out.
Who's at the door?
It's DoorDash with 31 cheeseburgers from McDonald's. So the child
I love it.
had in it, I'm not even going to say inadvertently,
Somehow.
knows what the Golden Arches looks like. There's the app. Probably maybe click on last order, saw burger,
Cheeseburger, yeah.
hit the plus 30
plus,
times,
plus,
not
plus,
just
plus.
one. I don't
Likes
want one.
the number 31.
Yeah, kept going. If she hadn't taken the phone away, who knows? So it's like $62 for the order. She leaves a tip. By the time it's done, it's $91.
Oh my
So
gosh.
good on her for paying it.
Well,
Because the McDonald's would have to quote unquote eat that.
You kind of have to.
Yeah. So brought them inside. The 2-year-old ate half of one.
Of course.
She gets on her local Facebook neighborhood page and said, funny story, I got these cheeseburgers. Who wants to come over? A bunch of neighbors come over. They're just sitting there eating their cheeseburgers.
I love that.
So that was a great story that starts out because a 2-year-old got on the phone.
It was funny enough with the 2-year-old ordering 31 cheeseburgers. That
Doorbell
I
rings.
thought that was the end of the story.
Yeah.
And then to hear it go on that, because any parent will agree with you when you have youngsters, you're lucky if they finish half of the food you get them. And to then invite her neighborhood over and say, hey, I've got all these burgers. Guys, come over.
Yeah. And that's just so funny.
We'll have a block party.
Such a great, just so funny.
It. Maybe I'll do that
Then the other technology one was the woman in Britain and the guy in the United States who met over Zoom calls, like at work or whatever.
See, and that's the ridiculous side.
This company's dealing with this company, with everything.
Get to know each other.
And their eyes lock on and then the angels sing, and they fall in love.
The light shines down on them. Yes.
But they can't travel because it's the pandemic.
Exactly.
So they found a way through Utah to be able to get a marriage license and be married over Zoom and have it count. So they get married over Zoom, and now they're married. They've yet to meet. And over the ensuing weeks, she's getting a little jealous and think he's cheating on her. He claims no, so they get a divorce over Zoom. So this couple has never met.
And this was over the course
married, divorced, 18 months.
Yeah.
Over Zoom. And she says, well, I hate being divorced. It's like, okay, I bet you do. Whatever.
I'm not saying it can't happen.
Because it did.
Because it did. Or that it can work. This one did not. But I'd like... you and I are both married. We've both been married for a few years. Do you not hear this and think, what were you guys friggin' thinking?
Absolutely.
Like, quite honestly, how did you ever think this was going to work?
Yep. Yeah.
How old are they? I would like to know how old they are.
26.
Yeah.
25 and 26.
Okay.
Yeah. 17.
Here is my old person coming out. I realize I am not that old. I realize that I have yet to experience certain milestones in life as well.
Right.
But I am married, and I have been married for quite some time, and we have had our ups and downs, no question. So to hear this, I think, how in the world did you think this was ever going to last? When you haven't met, you haven't done anything other than talk to each other online. Like, it boggles my mind.
And a
surprise that it doesn't work.
When you're kind of annoyed with each other, you're tired of the conversation, you just click, and now you're done with them. Hey, real life can't compete with that because there's no click. They follow you around the house.
Exactly.
They keep the conversation going.
You can't just click your partner away.
Yeah.
Or the problems, or the issues, or the stressors, or the bad days.
Yeah. I know. For example, it took me literally 30 years to realize that fine is not the end of the argument. It's the start of a new one. Like, I didn't even know that. I thought, fine. I thought, oh, great, I won. No. It's not the end of that argument. It's the beginning of another one.
Mm-hmm.
I was 40 years old before I realized that. That's a remarkable thing to learn.
I know it sounds cliche, but you cannot...
It's an absolute cliche.
Through Zoom, sure, you can have all the discussions and talks and learn everything you want about each other, but until you're in the same room with that person, you have no idea how loud their breathing is.
Yeah.
You don't know if they're tapping their foot under the counter while you're talking to them and how that's going to drive you insane. And I know I'm focusing on the negative, but you have to.
Real.
You have to take that in with the good.
You don't know that you're going to spend a long time in the kitchen making an incredible meal and they're going to douse it in ketchup. You don't know that.
No.
On Tinder. I know you're just going to hook up. I know what Tinder is. I'm not naive.
Yes.
When people say, oh, I go on Tinder because I'm looking for love, you're in the wrong place. You know where you need to find it? At a dog park. You need to take your dog for a walk and meet a real person in a place where they like to be. You know, you need to meet them in a church. You need to meet them at a school. You need to meet them at a place where lifestyles part, not just on a computer screen in Britain.
Click it off. You need to be there with that person when
it goes bad,
when they're having a bad day, and this is horrible, but when they're down, when something happens, good or bad in their life, because you want to be there to celebrate with them too. You want to see that side of them too, but also be there when they need your support. And through Zoom, you can't do that. And it floors me. Okay, fine. I understand the excitement and the wanting to get married, but then don't be surprised when it falls apart.
She's all mad about it.
I hate being divorced. I don't really think you can say you were divorced because I don't believe you were really married.
True. Yeah.
You might have had a relationship with this person, but I don't agree with the fact that you can say you were married.
You're no longer Zoom pals. That's what this means.
And if you want to get to the nitty gritty, it wasn't consummated. So
right. True.
If you want to go that route, there's so many things about that story that bother me.
I know.
Clearly.
Can we go back to the kid who can order McDonald's at the age of 2?
Let's focus on that because that was cute and fun and a good story about your neighbors.
Because you know how that could have gone bad? It might not have been McDonald's. Like, that doorbell rang. Oh, what's on the other side of that door?
We've heard those Amazon orders too.
Oh my gosh.
Exactly.
You ordered a pool.
Exactly. Whoa,
yeah.
What?
Oh no. A new car. Here's your little brother. Oh no. What's going on?
Oh, okay. Cheeseburgers.
Terrible. Cheeseburgers.
Now I want McDonald's.
That's
I'm going to have to stop on the way home.
That's good. Hey, have a great long weekend, okay?
Hey, you too. It's going to be a great one. It really is.
Tuesday starts the best 2 months of the year for me. So I think I'll be in a good mood Tuesday.
I think you could sound a little bit more confident.
Listeners.
Yes. And you're right. It's going to be light. Earlier and later, it's going to be wonderful. And we kick off our Bryan Adams contest. Your chance to win Bryan Adams tickets all next week before the box office even opens for general public. So it's going to be a good weekend into a great week.
And parents and kids, before you know it, it's the end of school.
Yeah.
It just, from here on in,
you can see the light at the end of the tunnel.
It's just flies. We're 2 or 3 weeks away from high school exams, and that wraps up, and then it's play dates and zoo trips for kids. Mm-hmm. So best time of the year, Victoria Day, right on into Canada Day, and then into the summer. Mark and Charity Coffee Podcast, wherever you get your favorite podcast, we've got it right here by 11 o'clock in the morning. Enjoy your Victoria Day long weekend. We're back at it on the air on Tuesday on 95.5 Hits FM in the great Quinte region of Ontario in Belleville. Have a fabulous weekend.